everyone, David Aragona here with Craig Milkowski, and we are taking a look at Sunday's Remington Park Oaks Race 8 at Remington Park on their Sunday card there, post time of 6:33 Central Time. And Craig, I know this is a race that you usually take in person, and you're likely to be there on Sunday. It's a field that has drawn a lot of the lower level 3-year-olds, some of the B and C level horses. Pauline's Pearl listed as the morning line favorite, and she does seem like the one to beat just based on her class lines coming out of races like the Kentucky Oaks and the Fantasy earlier in the year.
Yeah, she is. I mean, I'm not in love with her. She's a horse who has pretty much run the same race for a while now. She could win here, but we'll dive into it a little deeper. But I think she's a bit vulnerable in this spot personally.
Now, this is a race where, as you can see from the morning line, it feels like there are 4 main protagonists in this race, those 4 horses that are listed at single-digit odds. But there are 3 others in this race, and some might say that horses like Bob and Tail, My Girl Red, and Haley's Melody are just filler. But a few of them do have some early speed, and they could have a potential impact on the pace of this race. As we look at the Timeform US pace projector, it seems like the number 6 in particular, Haley's Melody, could be a thorn in the side of some of the other horses that want to show speed in this race.
Yeah, she's pretty quick. She's actually shown just to the inside and slightly behind Lady Mystify, who's one of those probably main contenders. And she certainly seems like one that could give her some fits, because Lady Mystify is a horse who I believe has 2 wins, and they're both wire-to-wire fashion. She always seems to be on the front end, and it's a little bit tougher when you have speed, even when you have another speed horse like Haley's Melody in here, who shows nothing but ones in her past performances the last 3 times out, including some pace figures that are very similar to Lady Mystify. Maybe not quite to that level, but one thing to keep in mind in these route races is horses can and usually will go faster if asked, because obviously they're not all out. So a need to lead horse, when they face a faster horse, will generally go a bit quicker early.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because it does seem like those 2 horses on the outside really do need to be on the front end to have their best chance. And arguably that's even true of the number 4, My Girl Red, who might not be quick enough to keep up and certainly doesn't seem quick enough to be around at the end of the race, but she's likely to push the pace as well. And that would certainly work in the favor of the number 1, Pauline's Pearl, as we take a deeper look at her. And let's check out the replay of her last race when she was second in the Charlestown Oaks. Craig, I'll let you talk about this one, because I know this was a race that you actually took in live.
I did take it in live, and this was actually a track that a lot of people were talking about how speed biased it was, and there maybe was some bit of speed bias, but it was typical Charlestown, really. Fast horses get the lead. They save ground. Of course, it's a 2-turn race at Charlestown when they go 7 furlongs. So a horse like Pauline's Pearl is really always going to be a disadvantage. So, I mean, I thought she ran fine to be second in that race. She was beaten 3.5 or 3.25 lengths in there, but the 108 speed figure makes her fit in here. I just don't think it gives her any particular edge over a couple others.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I mean, you did see a lot of horses riding the rail to victory at Charlestown that night, so maybe it was more of a rail bias than a speed bias. And I thought Pauline's Pearl, given that situation, actually got a great trip, because she was inside for the entire race until they came into the stretch, and she tipped into the 2 path to try to go after our Adios Jersey. And you could see that her momentum kind of stalled once she came off the rail. So that maybe supports the argument that the rail was the place to be. But looking at Pauline's Pearl's entire body of work, she ran that 106 going back to the Fantasy in April, and her development has just kind of plateaued since then. So maybe her typical number is good enough to get it done here, and a fast pace is certainly going to help her. But if she is indeed the favorite, she's one that I wanted to take a small shot against. And I know you did too, Craig. And you went to the number 3, Amendment 19, who is definitely the intriguing new face in this race, making her first start off a trainer switch to Brad Cox.
Yeah, I mean, after all, I am the speed figure guy, and it was kind of impossible for me to ignore that 112 is the best speed figure. Granted, it came at 7 furlongs at Saratoga, but Remington is a quick track, so I don't think a mile and a 16th here is quite what a mile and, a route race at Saratoga would be. They don't run a mile and 16th there, but I think she should be able to handle the distance. I obviously like the trainer change. I mean, nothing against Linda Rice, but she's not Brad Cox. stock statistically. He does really well with first-time acquisition. So I just couldn't pass up a horse with the best speed figure that's only the third betting choice in the field. And it also looks like she's a horse who, even at the 2-turn distance, she did run a flat mile at Belmont around 1 turn. But at these longer distances, I still think she's going to be off the pace a bit. So that fast pace we talked about should help set things up for her late kick.
Yeah, and for those who aren't aware, she was actually a private purchase out of her last race by Juddmonte, who turned her over to Brad Cox. And I think it's kind of unusual to see Juddmonte pick up a horse like this. So perhaps that's a good sign. My one concern with Amendment 19, Craig, is the distance stretching out to the 2-turn mile in the 16th, because looking at her 3 races so far, her worst effort was when they stretched her out to a mile. Even though that was her one victory, it was her lowest speed figure. That was a very weak maiden race at Belmont, and I thought she had to work a little bit harder than I expected to win that race. She actually was entered first off of this trainer switch in the Prioress, going 6 furlongs at Saratoga. For whatever reason, they scratched her out of this race and opted for this Remington Park Oaks going longer instead. Just not sure what to make of that. And I have some questions about the distance with her, though. Obviously, if she repeats that last speed figure, she's going to be tough for this field to handle.
Yeah, the distance is the one question that I have. I'm a little more forgiving of that maiden win because, as you could see in her past performances, she was well back off the lead, and we have the 1/2 mile and 3/4 coated in blue, and they came home pretty quick. So I don't think it was the best setup for her to run a good speed figure that day.
Yeah, she also had a poor start in that race, so maybe that was an additional excuse. I went a different direction to the number 5, Lovely Ride. Let's take a look at her last race from Parks, the Catherine Sophia. And she did win this race on the front end, and I think she's unlikely to be on the lead this race, given the speeds that we just talked about in the pace projector. But she seems like a versatile type, and I just liked the tenacity that she showed in this race, because she looked beaten at multiple points, and she just continues to battle back on the rail. She's resurgent along the inside. Looks like the horse on the outside might pick her up at the wire, but she battles on, holds that one off as well. And I just like the grit and gameness that she showed winning this race. It was only a 97 time formula speed figure, but I think that number was a little bit held down by those blue color-coded fractions that you see, a slow pace. She's already proven in prior starts that she's capable of running faster. And if she gets back to that 107 time formula speed figure that she earned going this distance at Churchill Downs 3-back, when she did stalk the pace, I think that effort puts her right there against the favorites.
Yeah, I've got no problem with her. If she gets the trip that we point out in the pace projector, tucked in behind two dueling leaders, you rarely can ask for a better trip in horse racing. She's proven to be able to win from a tracking position. So I have no problem with her. I was just looking for a little bit more value trying to beat Pauline's Pearl.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they bet this race. They've got Amendment 19 as the 3rd choice on the morning line. I think she's a bit of a wild card off that Brad Cox trainer change if they really go for her. Brad Cox's horses always seem to take a lot of money, so we'll see if they go for the class, Pauline's Pearl, or for Lovely Ride, who just has been a win machine. She's won 4 of her 6 races, so I could see them going in any of those directions. I would tend to go for the biggest price of those, and I thought it might be Lovely Ride, but we'll see how that all shakes out. You see our top picks up there, Craig going with Amendment 19, me with Lovely Ride in the Remington Park Oaks on Sunday at Remington Park. And if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Racing Form channel on YouTube, or follow us on Twitter, where we post these videos as well. And you can check out all the other content from the other DRF handicappers like Dan Illman, Mike Beer, and Brad Free. So thanks for tuning in, and good luck if you're playing this weekend.